Yes, I think there's speculation of sort of, and that I would add to the speculation that there's key resources, there's key milestones you can only do in 12 months, and there's things that 12 months turns into 2 years, 3 years, and then 3 to 4 years you've got a product cycle, and you've got games that are basically ready to go to market, and so you really, and then 3 years, and then before you know it, a decade's passed, and it's either you still have an offering to make through Game Pass, or whether the value proposition has slipped through your fingers in that time. So that I could speculate, as far as I've seen from chatter online, through the socials, is sort of like people value placing a priority on time and resources. So you can only get so far if you do so much, and the much you can do is determined by your capabilities. And your capability is determined by the time you have to put on whether a solution is present or not. If there's no solution, you can't get the full picture. You have to move on. You can't make a decision. Your decision is to pass on. Your decision is to pass on over that particular issue. So I can see how resources being deployed that are not making critical mass in terms of a 1-inch punch difference. Those resources will be absorbed and placed into perhaps strategic planning the next decade. I'm sure there's teams being hired as we speak, putting into strategically planning extra personnel into the next decade. And do we make the next 12 months? Do we make the next 2 to 3 years? Do we make the next 5? 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Do we make 3 and then another 3 and then another 3? That's 9. And then how do we finish in a decade period? And how does that affect our pocketbook? Our pocketbook's going to grow by inflation 3% per year. So in 10 years, our pocketbook should grow by 30%. If we keep the pocketbook actually valued as something. If the pocketbook keeps its value, we'll have a 30% increase in 10 years. That's doing nothing. That's doing absolutely nothing to stuff up what we've got, you see. So it's kind of like there's additional things we can do to thicken the custard. We can add more corn flour. We can add more custard powder in with the milk. You put the water in the pan, right? You turn the element on, right, to simmer, to medium. You warm up the water, and then you start whisking in the custard powder. No, sorry, the milk powder, and then you've got powdered milk in a liquid, and then you start whisking in the custard powder at 30 degrees, right? And then you increase the heat, and then it starts to warm up. You take off you remove from the heat, and you start whisking. Depending on this process back and forth, applying heat, reducing heat, applying heat, reducing heat, taking the saucepan off the element, returning the saucepan to the element, you're in a process of thickening the custard. So we're in a process now of a back and forth thickening the pocketbook, and you look at the audience. Look at the audience for Game Pass, right? Look at the audience for Grounded. Look at the age group for Grounded. Okay, so that's between the ages of young, 10 years old, under parental control, up to the age of leaving 18, 19, right? Cooperative play. You see the audience. So how do you access the audience? Well, you go cross-platform. That was wise. You make it playable on the PS4. You make it playable on the PS5. That will increase the IP franchise. So we see a Grounded 2, or a Grounded 2 or 3, or a Grounded expanded DLC. A whole new Grounded game will be leveraged off that patronage. So in 10 years' time, we would have thickened that intellectual property IP intellectual property, IP. So we really need a grounded 1 and a grounded 2. Or increased, like Fortnite, you have increased modes to ensure the market seeks grounded as a product and a service, or through a service. A service is through something you pay for to someone else to do for you, like deliver the game, like rent the game. That's called a service. A good is a sell the game in perhaps a physical or a digital sale, and you own it. That's a good with selling products, right? So Grounded has gone to cross-platform, which means it's gone from Xbox ecosystem to PlayStation ecosystem. So has Hi-Fi Rush, so has Pentiment, so has Sea of Thieves. So the numbers have been done, that should thicken our pocketbook for the next 10 years. So that's kind of what we're looking at. That's kind of what we're trying to do. And increase patronage, increase the amount of people that are following that content, right? And the patronage turns into increased value of the game. And the game increases in value, you can put more resources into the game, right? An investor can walk along and say, look, I want to give you $1 million to put into Grounded. I believe in the game. So people start wanting to put money into the game because it has a high popularity. So the popularity draws more money to be spent to make the game bigger, essentially. So that's the mechanism. That's why the games went cross-platform. You see, so it was targeted because we have to build the value of the franchise of the pocketbook. I can see how those actions can be done to thicken the pocketbook, to thicken the custard. And I'm sure they went back and forward over some period of time. So that's where the game development now stands, is really looking at Starfield DLC. Do you fix Redfall? I think you can. Do you have the resources? Any spare resources I think they should put into fixing Redfall. Mouse and keyboard support off the rip. Right? Getting Starfield DLC out there. Let it cook. Let Starfield cook. I find it... I've played a little bit. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. It's just a thoroughly enjoyable experience, and I'm yet to play more. So we just start looking at the next DLC installments of IP. Some IP may, like for example, Halo, Starfield. Gears is going to stay Xbox. So you'll have a couple of titles, Forza, that will stay on locked into a walled garden. So, however, there's IP that can be developed that can be cross-platform and bolster its value into the next 10 years. So, for example, if a game, the way I see it, if a game is for a younger audience, you can go cross-platform. If the game's for 15 years older, MA 15 plus, you can just keep it on a walled garden because it's for mature audiences, and mature audiences usually have money, so they can just buy Game Pass. They'll just get a Series S. It's fine. They'll play on the cloud off their phone. So, but the age group under 15, young people don't have money to buy an Xbox. We'll take those family titles, put them on PlayStation. You're getting that demographic. You're getting kids that can't afford to buy games, can't afford to buy an Xbox. That's what I see. That's what's been done. I'm only speculating. I don't know. But I can see that's the segment. And it was, I think it's genius level. I think it's 200, 400 IQ level move. 4D chess move. To do that. And they really, I think, are working hard. You see key resources being withdrawn here or there. Now, I don't think people need to be upset. That money's still spent. You see? And it's just got to those resources just go to somewhere. For example, fixing Redfield. They can hire 20 developers to fix Redfield. Redfall. You see, like that's the only way you can see it. And if Redfall gets fixed up, right, what happens? The IP, the value of that IP, of that intellectual property, of that franchise, the Redfall franchise, right? Like Coca-Cola, like Pepsi is a franchise, is a brand, increases in value. So over the next 10 years, if we can bolster Redfall, you can bolster its value. And it can be worth $1 billion in 10 years. Wouldn't that be nice? We can develop Redfall into a $1 billion property. Who wants to be part of it? I do. Let's do it. Let's get after it.